Seren, back with another car video. So I don't even really know what I'm gonna say in this video, but I just really wanted to make a video on therapy because, so this morning on Instagram, actually rewind back, somebody left a comment on my Donald Glover video that was like, you know, I understand Donald because, you know, I was raised in the suburbs in like a really affluent neighborhood, and I suffered from feeling, you know, like an outcast, feeling like rejected by my peers, and, you know, I felt rejected by my white peers because I was black. I felt rejected by the few black peers that I had because I felt like I didn't fit in, and all this other like stuff that I felt like totally understandable. Like, I understand, like, it makes sense, like I get where you're coming from. I was like, and that's what I said to the person. I was like, you know, I get where you're coming from, totally. Like, I totally get people that feel like outcasts, or, you know, they don't know where they belong. You know, they have a lot of what really boils down to like trauma and hurt feelings, and that's like for a variety of things. Like with the Donald Glover example, we could talk about, you know, like the black nurse that felt like they didn't fit in, but we could also talk about hurt between men and women. We could talk about hurt between able-bodied people and non-able-bodied people. You know, we're talking about identity, which I've done several videos on now, and not feeling where you belong, and like the hurt and the pain and the anger that comes along with that. And I said to this person that left a comment, like, you know, it's totally fine for you to like feel that way. I was like, but the issue comes when, I was like for me personally, I feel like Donald Glover doesn't like black people. Like, I feel like he used, you know, hold on, turning. I feel like he used that experience and that, you know, trauma to like not fuck with black people. Like, I don't like black people, I don't fuck with them. Like, I don't, and that's just really what I think. I was like, so if it starts getting to the point where like you hate black people, like you're black but you like hate yourself, you have this like self-hate, this internalized anti-blackness and self-hatred and all these issues, I was like, you know, it might be a good idea to like get into therapy. I was like, and you said your parents are affluent, you grew up in an affluent area, so maybe, you know, you might have the opportunity to get therapy. Like, maybe you can afford it, so that you could like deal with some of these issues instead of like letting them, you know, kind of fester inside of you, or whatever. And this person was like, you saying I need therapy, is that an insult? I was like, no. Like, no. I was like, no, I'm dead ass serious. Like, I'm serious. Like, I was in therapy. Like, I haven't gone in a while, but like I was in therapy. Like, I've been in therapy. I was in therapy all through college. I was in therapy for like years, like as like post college, like as an adult. Like, what? I was like, no, it's not an insult. I was like, I was being dead serious. Like, I think that could like help you. So then I posted on Instagram, I was like, it's so weird when you tell people that you want them to get like some therapy and they take it as an insult. And somebody was like, well, it's rude because you're not qualified to like tell them what's wrong with them, that they need therapy. I was like, well, first of all, you don't know what I'm qualified to say to anybody. Like, for all you know, like, I could be a whole doctor. Like, you really don't know. Like, you don't really know me. Like, so number one, you don't even know what I'm qualified to tell anybody. I was like, so we could start there. I was like, but number two, I was like, therapy isn't just for like I even hate to even like get into this conversation, but like therapy is not just for like sick people with problems, crazy people, which I hate saying. I tried to not even say the word crazy like on this channel ever. I was like, you know, I don't have to be a doctor. Like, I'm not an armchair psychologist. I don't have to be a doctor diagnosing people to say, oh, you might want to consider therapy. I was like, therapy is a good thing. Like, therapy is not a bad thing. It's not like I'm saying, you know, it's just it's the same thing of seeing therapy as like an insult. And it's just like all this stigma around like therapy and around like checking in on your mental health, you know. And it's like, I don't have to fucking be qualified. I don't have to diagnose myself with anything to say like, hey, I want to go to therapy. Like, and then I had like posted a bunch of stuff on Instagram where I was just like, you know, therapy is a good thing. Like, let's remove this like social stigma from therapy, this thought process that you have to be diagnosed by a doctor with some type of problem to go to therapy. Like, therapy is good. I was like, number one, trauma happens, you know, especially like as Black people, like trauma happens, like intergenerational trauma that has even been passed down, especially amongst Black Americans since slavery, is a real thing. But even just like the daily stress and like trauma of like day to day, like people ask me all the time about like self-care and what are some like coping mechanisms and self-care practices, especially for, you know, quote unquote activists or people that are doing, you know, protest work. And I always say, like, if you can afford therapy, or if your insurance covers it, your parents' insurance, your school insurance, whatever, I was like, do it. Don't think that there needs to be some type of like qualification that you have to be diagnosed with something or you have to like have problems. I hate even saying that. Like, I don't even want to like, there's nothing wrong with like being diagnosed with anything either, or like feeling like you have some problems either. Like, I'm not trying to say that. Like, I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying like therapy is like good for everybody. Like, therapy is good for like it's therapeutic. Like, therapeutic is a positive word. I don't understand how therapy became associated with something negative. Like, you go, you talk to the person. I was like, even if it's just, you know, just to like get shit off your chest, you know, you're talking to somebody that's not a friend or a family member, or, you know, a professional, a stranger, somebody that can help guide you. People will go get drunk and sit at the bar and like talk to the bartender, but they will not go to therapy. It's like the same exact concept. And I was just like, really like, we just really need to like destigmatize therapy. And a lot of people were like hitting me up in my Instagram DMs, saying a lot of like really, really cool stuff. Maybe I'll do like an add-on at the end of this video where I like read some of the stuff that people were saying. But like, one person was like, you know, in the United States, like preventative health care is not really seen as a thing. It's like, you get sick, you go to the doctor, they like treat you, and then you like leave. Preventative care, or like ongoing care, this idea of care as something that is like cyclical, that like never ends. It's not just like, oh, I'm sick, I go to the doctor, I get a pill, and now I'm fine. But this idea of like care as like something that never ends, that you're like constantly checking in with yourself, like, how am I doing, how am I feeling, you know, that is like not really a thing here. And this person was also like, and by that same line, the idea that you're going to like a head doctor means like, so since you only go to the doctor when you're sick, if you're going to a quote unquote head doctor, that means you're sick, right? You're sick in the head. So, and I remember I even had to have this conversation with my own mother, because I had been going to therapy for like well over a year at one point. And my mother was like, well, like, when do you get to like the end, or like, when are you better, or something like that? And I was like, I don't think it really works like that. I was like, I mean, I could stop going at any time whenever I feel like it, but as long as I want to go and I feel like it's helpful, it's not that I'm trying to get better, it's just that I'm trying to maintain, I'm trying to like maintain my mental state, you know, my health, my well-being, you know. And it's just like such a shame the way that we have this like stigma, the way that we just have this stigma around it. Somebody else was like that they went to a theater school, that they're an actor, and like one of their acting teachers like encouraged all of them to like find a counselor, find a therapist, somebody they could talk to, like, even if they feel like they're fine, even if, again, like, it's not necessarily like you have to feel like you're sick, or you have to like meet some type of like qualifications to go, or, you know, you have to have a doctor recommend therapy to you. Like therapy is just like I said, I would recommend it for literally everyone walking around, especially Black, like, I mean, everyone, which we had even started talking about on fucking Instagram. I was like, I mean, I was like, there is a stigma around therapy and mental health, especially in the Black community. I was like, but even outside of the Black community, you guys know I like hate pathologizing the Black community, like as if like so much shit is like exclusive to us when that's not true. I was like, even outside of the Black community, like mental health and like therapy is like stigmatized in general in our society. I was like, but like twofold within the Black community, because to get through the majority of our trauma, we just like internalize everything and like keep this like stiff upper lip of like, we just got to be strong and like get through it. I was like, but even fucking white people that's going to therapy, they're not dealing with the underlying causes of most of their issues, which is fucking white privilege, white fragility, all these complexes and fear around Black people, which nobody wants to address. Like Dr. Joy DeGruy, who you guys know I love, I talk about all the time, post-traumatic slave syndrome. She talks about how like everybody needs therapy. Like we're still suffering from the effects of slavery. We're still suffering from the effects of just like racism, classism, sexism, like all the isms and all that shit is traumatic. It's like traumatic to you, to your health and your well-being. Like there's not a single person walking around right now that has not been impacted in one way or another and would not benefit from going and talking to a therapist and like working through some of those issues. So it's just like, therapy is not a bad thing. Again, it's not a negative thing. It's not something that you go there with the thought of, oh, I'm going to get better and then I don't have to do this anymore. It's more of a practice of a health and wellness and care practice. It's a preventative measure, and it's even also like a way to maintain yourself over time for as long as you feel like you want it or need it or can afford it or can get it, because it is very fucking expensive. Which is another reason why it has, which someone else, we were talking about in my Instagram DMs, another reason why like historically like it's also been hard for like Black people to have access to mental health care, because it's so expensive and we just can't afford it. We don't have the access to that type of thing. So don't feel like, again, like you have to be crazy or you have to be diagnosed or you have to be qualified or a doctor has to tell you to go, or that if you go, you know, you're sick and you have to like go for, you know, 6 sessions and then you're going to be better. Just again, think of it more in terms, somebody was like, we need to look at therapy as the same as like exercising or like trying to eat better, or, you know, how you put oil in your car, you know, maintenance on your well-being, or preventative measure before it gets to the point where you feel like you are sick, or, you know, like, just, I really want to just remove the stigma and the way that we even talk about it, because it's just like, therapy's a good thing. Therapy's great, man. I tell everybody, like, therapy, like, go to therapy, like, go to therapy, it will be great, it'll be wonderful. So I just wanted to say that. Hopefully everybody is having a good day. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like I said, I might add on some stuff at the end, reading, like, when I get home, maybe. But yeah, I just wanted to make this quick car video on therapy. Not a bad thing. All right? Food for thought, as always. Peace. So I'm home, obviously. And I'm going to read you guys some stuff from the Instagram really, really quick, okay? I actually think everyone should go to therapy. Like, literally everyone. The world is a fucking traumatic-ass place. Somebody replied to me, they were like, and yes, the world is so traumatic regardless, the shit sneaks up on you and you don't even realize how fucked it makes you. And then I had put, number 1, stop having negative connotations associated with therapy. Number 2, stop thinking therapy makes you weak. Number 3, stop thinking you have to be diagnosed to go to therapy, because therapy means something is really wrong. I want to reiterate too, though, like, that there's nothing wrong with like being diagnosed. There's nothing wrong with a doctor telling you to go to therapy. There's nothing wrong with any of that. Like, nothing is wrong with that. But you also don't have to have any of that to go to therapy. I put sunscreen on today and my face looks white. I'm in white face, y'all. Therapy is a good thing. It's going to be reversed. Somebody was like, ugh, therapy is still so stigmatized. Everyone could benefit from therapy. Ain't no shame in it. I agree. When I was in drama school, our teacher always advised us to get therapists, even if we thought we were mentally well, just as a way to preserve or ensure health. People obviously just attach the stigma of mental health meaning crazy and haven't grown from that. It's a wild world that we live in. It's sad that folks see it that way. We're supposed to be able to help each other, and therapy is an important part of helping yourself. You shouldn't feel insulted when someone asks you if you need help, right? That's like a real thing too. I understand the stigma around it, but taking it immediately as an insult shows so much wrong with our society. And then I said, if you can afford therapy or swing it in some other way, go. Just even talking with someone that's not a friend or family member or that is a professional works wonders. You do not need to be diagnosed with anything to go to therapy. There's no qualification necessary to go. And then I was like, preferably a Black therapist, of course, because Black therapists matter. Hashtag Black therapists matter. Yeah, a lot of people don't understand that counseling and therapy is a health tool, like exercising or getting your oil changed. In America, you go to the doctor when you are ill. They fix you and send you on your way. This is in quotations. They fix you and send you on your way. A doctor is for sick people in the American reactionary model. So when you tell someone they need to see a doctor for the mind, they feel some type of way because you're telling them that their head is sick. It is completely our American way of thinking about doctors. That was like a great message that somebody sent me. Are there any more that I wanted to read? I've never heard of a therapist saying to a white person, well, you have black male penis envy and inferiority complex, which fuels your racism, and that is your problem. Your racial stereotypes are driving you mad. They ain't ready to get that real, lol. And I responded to that person with, they not ready. Peace.